Welcome to Burn the Ship. The goal of Burn the Ship is to connect entrepreneurs or professionals that can help you go all in on your business. Thank you for being here. First of all, I
Thanks for
appreciate
having
you
me.
dedicating the time, making the trip. It does mean a lot. Anybody that is a value to our audience and helps us learn a thing or two is a big deal for us. So thank you for that. But we talk to people that have walked the walk, talked the talk, experience all the things that we experience as small business owners. And our goal as a host and as a company and as a podcast is to bottle up some of those experiences and skills and make that a teachable moment for the people that are listening, right? Help those people grab some of those skills and experiences and implement them in their own business strategy. So you are making an impact. You are helping other small businesses here. You're helping us learn and grow our network and build more connections and everything of that nature. So I appreciate you very much. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and your business?
Sure. So my name is Katie Berg, and I own and run Kibber and Co. Designs. Basically, I'm a brand strategy and brand design, website design agency, I guess is the right term.
Mm,
Although it's just me and some contractors here and there.
sure.
But yeah, so I really help businesses kind of really flesh out what they do in their business. They have a lot of time business owners have ideas in their head of what their business is, but they have a hard time articulating that
Sure.
and knowing how to translate that into something that is relatable to the kinds of people that they want to attract to their
Sure.
business. So it's really helping people flesh out what their business is, why they're really doing it, what are their values, and this is all kind of the strategy behind branding, and then actually putting that into a look and feel that they can take and run with in all of their marketing campaigns.
Yeah, for sure. And it's one of the things that amazes me about your industry is how simple some of the questions are that you have to ask that really define the way that you approach marketing, right? Or you approach
Yeah.
digital presence or you approach user experience. And one of the things that we've talked about a lot recently on the podcast is really the expectations of customer experience in different markets, right?
Hmm.
And kind of the idea that we're operating under is that we did like a first say 100 podcasts where my existing clients are people very close to my network, and then we started to venture outside of that to people that were in their network or other connections that we were made, people that we just didn't know quite as well.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I've realized is that in Atlanta or in just large markets in general, a lot of the focus early on for business owners is trying to get to that next customer, right? Trying to grab a little bit more market share, trying to fill the top of the funnel in a better, more efficient way.
Hmm.
When you step outside of the realm of Atlanta, it's almost second nature to think in my smaller market, like what is the customer experience,
Hmm.
right? Like I just had a roofing company that I was having this discussion with, and um, customer experience is everything for them, and the reason is because they work in these small coastal towns in North Carolina that have had 3 hurricanes and 2 winter storms and a pandemic and everything else, and it's like if you have a bad customer experience with one customer on one of these islands, that island is forgotten territory to
Yeah.
you because those people are so connected with one another that
Yeah.
the word is going to spread that they didn't love your company.
Yeah.
And so I guess my first question to you is, what is the process like of someone working? How do you ask the right questions to be able to get entrepreneurs thinking about the right things from a branding and a design perspective?
Yeah. So the first thing when I sit down and do a strategy session, like a brand strategy session with somebody, the first thing I really get to is like, why are you even in business? Like, beyond making money,
Yeah,
obviously. Like, what is that why behind everything? Because that's kind of what you're always going to come back to.
for sure.
And at the end of these strategy sessions, they're going to have something that's going to be like a litmus for them. So as they're making business decisions, they can bump that up against the strategy document. Is this aligned with
Hmm.
everything I've said I want to be and I want to do? So the question really is, why are you doing what you're doing? And then a lot of the like questions I ask are, but why?
Yeah,
And why? So it's like, let's go deeper into this particular part of your business. Like, where are you making money and who are you trying to serve? What is that customer journey like? How do they make their decisions? in buying with you and becoming a client, and then just digging really deep into, okay, how can you apply your brand to make that experience better?
Sure. What is there a certain demographic or industry, or what is the makeup of your clients?
Of my clients, it's kind of all over the board. So my sweet spot are businesses that are I'm in the 2 to 5 year range, right? So I've worked with some startups before. I find some of them aren't enough in their business yet
Sure.
for to be fully committed. And when you sit down to do like a brand strategy and build out a full visual identity and website, like you have to kind of really be committed to your business. It's
sure.
not like a hobby business. Like even if it's a side hustle, there's a level of commitment that I can suss out pretty quickly in some of the potential clients that I talk to.
Sure.
So my sweet spot tends to be people who've been in business, have a little bit of a track record on revenue and growth, and I can feel their passion
Sure.
when they're talking about their business.
The one of the best ways that I've ever heard it put was from an insurance friend of mine that works with us closely on commercial insurance. But he says, all of my best clients, I'm their third insurance agent. He's like, maybe they had an independent agent, or maybe they got something off the internet, or they went directly to, and they didn't mind their product because they were just getting started in their business. Right. And then they had this other experience where they're trying to shop. Lowest premium. How can we save money? We're at a bigger place in our business. We need to change our coverage. Yep.
Yeah.
And then a claim happens, or they have a question for their agent, or their premium increases, right? And then it's like, I'm usually the third person that they're connected to.
Yeah.
And they've had this experience where they both appreciate the service and they appreciate the understanding of what they're actually paying for in their premium world. It's probably very similar to you. It's very similar to me, right?
It is.
Like in your world, it's probably that they've done some type of brand or strategy or design work, or they've paid somebody on Fiverr, or they found a college kid in their hometown to like soup up your logo, whatever that may be. And then later on down the road, you get to your this portion in your business where you're like, all right, we got to get our brand out there. We have to figure out ways to not be so hands-on in the sales process. How can we get some leads? How can we talk to our market in a way that's going to help us fill the top of the funnel? And then that third iteration is like, okay, we have to bring in somebody that really knows what they're doing in order to execute something like that accurately. It's pretty much the same in my industry. We start with a square. We hate the rates. We go to find somebody else that's new in their industry, or someone that you're connected with, or someone that you find online, and then you end up paying a lot and the customer service isn't great. And then you find a home like us where it's like, okay, we've been doing it a long time. We have the resources that actually help us do it well. It's probably very similar in your industry.
It is. And I think some of it's just maturity in your business. Like when you start out, you're just going as fast as you can. You're trying to figure stuff out, and you just know you need something visual. So you just slap something together.
Oh, yeah.
Or you go with the cheapest person because you don't have the budget. And then as your business starts to grow and you can kind of see the traction that you're getting with some clients, and you can see the possibility of what your business can be, that's when you realize, oh, this isn't really cutting it anymore. It's time to go to the next level in my business, and part of that is just, how do I look more legitimate in my business? Like I know what I'm doing. Like I've got it together and I'm polished. And that's kind of the sweet spot for the types of clients that I work with. And that's
a journey.
It is a journey. It is.
There's no book. There's no one book you can read that tells you the answer for that for all the industries. You have to have gone through that and had those conversations with enough people to really know what is a valid solution for these different industries, for these different sizes of companies. And the companies that are hyper growing and companies that are 20 years into this growth phase and they're growing slowly and bootstrapping, like, it's two very different conversations. It's two very different goals. It's two very different looks a lot of times from a graphic and from a design and a customer experience perspective. So don't think that any one person that you're talking to has all the answers. And you probably work with some other people in your industry where you're just continuing to learn. It's a continuing learning facet, your industry and mine as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've been in marketing for 15 plus years, agencies, corporate, now for myself, and what I knew and used in the corporate world for marketing is not
Yeah,
the same strategies
it's
you
almost
use.
useless, probably.
Yeah,
Yeah,
to a certain extent. I mean, there's just a whole different nuance to
sure.
how you market yourself when you own a small business compared to working on a strategy for private wealth at a large bank.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's hugely different.
Sure. So, from an entrepreneurial perspective, for you, what has that transition been like from being in your industry for other people to putting on that entrepreneur hat?
Yeah, it's been humbling.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that much. It's been humbling. I mean, I've always been a high performer, a high achiever, very ambitious kind of person. I've had a successful career before I started this business. And it humbles you pretty quickly because you realize you're now a small fish in a very big sea.
No doubt.
And you're having to learn things that will frustrate you. You want to beat your head against the wall sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes you can't figure it out yourself either. It's like I'm exhausted myself trying to figure something out, and you realize I have to expand my network and find the people who have that expertise that can help me with this particular part of my business.
Absolutely.
Instead of trying to take it all on yourself
For
all
sure.
the time.
So, what do you think has been kind of your superpower, right? Like from the moment that you started your business and started being in business for yourself, what have you done particularly well that's helped you grow?
I think I've just been authentic. Like I've just been myself. Like I've gotten, I would say a portion of I would say maybe half of my clients have been referrals, and the other half have been just pure acquisition. And it's because I've just put myself in front of people,
Sure.
like physically in front of people. Like every time that I have gone out to a market or to visit somebody on my list of dream clients and start building a relationship,
It surprises you
they
how
have
well it
become
goes.
clients.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. It's a different experience to like take your hit list and start ticking boxes off.
Uh-huh.
Right.
It is.
I think a lot of people like there's these mental barriers that we experience as humans, right, from an entrepreneurial perspective, and it's like, yeah, almost this imposter syndrome of like those are super big clients, right?
Yeah.
Well, like you have to continue to redefine and bump those goals up and up and up because it continues to it proves to you as a human that you're progressing at the rate that you expected,
Yeah.
that you're working hard and you deserve more.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people get stuck in this hurricane of preparation. It's just
It's
always
easy to do.
preparing for this, preparing for that,
Yeah.
preparing for this. We're not ready. We're not ready. We're not ready. We have things to figure out. And those experiences of going out and putting yourself in front of people and acquiring clients because you speak about what you do well with conviction, it's a game changer. It changes the way you view your own business.
Yeah.
It changes the way that you articulate what it is that you do and how you pitch yourself. It's a big change. So I encourage people from a entrepreneurial perspective to put yourself in some of those uncomfortable positions. Go and pitch some of those people. Let people ask you questions you don't know the answer to.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. It's every person pretty much in every industry that starts out without 20 years of background in their industry, that they go through that same thing. And it's probably in the corporate world, your role was not acquisitions. It was do your job well. So it's
That's
completely
right.
learned behavior to you. So
It
you
is
have to.
very different. And I think what has been very surprising is that a lot of people aren't necessarily looking for an expert. And I think that's counterintuitive because you see on social media, this person's an expert in this person's an expert in that. A lot of people that I've worked with, they aren't necessarily looking for an expert. They're looking for somebody who has a lot of experience and knowledge, but the way they think.
Mm-hmm.
They have a way of thinking that can help them kind of find a solution to something, not necessarily that they know the solution right out of the gate.
Sure. The way that I have phrased that for people in the past is the reason people don't look for an expert or like the very best number one, I'm the best in my industry guy, is because they don't feel that same way about themselves in their industry. You know what I mean? Which is not a bad thing.
No.
Like I don't think I would ever be like, I'm the guy for credit card processing. I know everything because my industry changes so much. And it's like, do I want the Albert Einstein of graphic design and marketing? No, I kind of want someone like me. I want someone that works hard, that has a bunch of experience, and that we can put together this solution
Yes.
together. So you have to kind of meet people where they are.
Yeah, and I also think, like, for as much as, first of all, everybody feels imposter syndrome.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Everybody. And you forget that it's not just you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, everybody that you're working with has felt imposter syndrome at some point in their career.
Yeah.
If they're not, if it's not constant.
Yeah,
for
and you
some
overcome
people.
it in different ways. Some of my favorite stories are people that are forced out of that imposter syndrome. Like, especially people early on. Like, I have some friends in the startup and technology world that are like, you know, we have this bare bones piece of technology. We have an MVP. We're pretty good from a graphics perspective, but like you know, my first client is the airport, you know, or my first client is like this private equity fund worth $100 million.
Yeah.
My first client is XYZ, and like, you're like, okay, the first thing that you have to do to be able to conquer that stuff is convince yourself you deserve these people as a client and that you're going to do a good job.
Yeah.
There are going to be bumps in the road, and there is a good way to articulate that as an entrepreneur. And there's a good way to do it without doing a bunch of free work. That's another thing that I think people get stuck in is like, we have to do especially in the videography and production world. Like, we've seen it over and over and over again working with people that are referral partners of ours. But people are like, oh, I have to go shoot this thing for free so that I can put it in my catalog. I'm like, look, man, are you going to do a good job? Like, do you know what you're doing?
Are they getting? You have to think about the value.
Yeah,
like
100%.
Like, even you may not be the best videographer in the world, but the person that you're doing this work for, what is the value that they're going to get out of it to their business? And it's not nothing.
And
so you should not be charging nothing.
Exactly. How are they going to perceive that value?
Yes.
How do you, as a business owner, perceive a product that I give to you for free?
Yeah, you don't. There's like zero value.
You perceive it as cheap.
Yeah.
You perceive it as, you know, this commodity that is it's easy as left behind as carried forward.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So those are real human mindset challenges for entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And I think that another good point to emphasize is that your customers are experiencing those same things. And learning how to navigate them for you and learning how to navigate them for your customers is probably, I mean, maybe two of the five most important things that you can have as an entrepreneur is an understanding of the emotions and the thought process that your customer goes through when they're buying something from you.
Yeah.
And the same, and in retrospect, exactly how do you feel when you're rendering your service for your customer?
Yeah.
Because if you can bring those two can have some synergy, the acquisition becomes incredibly easier. Right?
Yeah, and I would also say, like, don't, kind of in the same related category, it's walking the fine line between pricing something in a way because you feel like you need the business, you're just kind of desperate for the business, versus wanting the business and knowing that you're the right fit for that business, right?
Absolutely.
Like, that's a big deal in the world that I work in. There's a lot of designers who are pricing things so low. Like, they're not doing it for free, but they're just pricing it so low because they're so worried about a client turning them down.
Saying no.
And I used to feel that way when I first started, and I still have moments of doubt like that
where
sometimes.
you like talk yourself into giving a discount before you've even talked to a client. Okay.
Yeah, but you know, that's when you have to rely back on knowing who your audience is. Like, who is the right client for you? Because the right type of client for you isn't going to say no if you've presented your value well enough.
Sure. Oh, that's 100% fact. And it's it surprises me the small things that become the catalyst for those shifts in mindset. Like, it truthfully sometimes does tell people, like, it takes people, me going, I really appreciate this work. I think it's good. Let's do it again. Like, sometimes just some small affirmation that you give yourself or that someone else gives you is the thing that bumps you over the log.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's also a part that your having a really solid brand plays in how you show up
I agree.
for potential clients.
What have been some of the obstacles that you've overcome from a business perspective, right? Like, I know there's a learning curve for every industry.
Yeah.
So what have been some of those bumps in the road for you?
Yeah, for me, it's so I've been in business for just shy of 2 years. I would say the first year of that was me just kind of like, I wouldn't even call myself business. I was a freelancer, is kind
Sure.
of what I would call myself. I was just taking any kind of marketing related freelance work. So I think the biggest bump for me was really figuring out, what is my offering? Like,
Sure.
what do I want to be known for? What can I do well in a way that is efficient and profitable, but provides value for the types of people that I want to work with? So that's kind of been a big evolution for me. And part of that was I rebranded a year in.
Mm.
The way Kibber and Co. looks right now is not the way it looked a year ago. So all the things that I have gone through are the same things that I'm trying to help my clients with.
What was
as
the
well.
inspiration for the change?
I did not feel like when I looked at my old brand, I didn't get any feeling from it. Like it looked nice, but it didn't feel like it stood for anything. It didn't reflect me or my personality. It didn't reflect the type of design work that I like doing for the types of clients who like that type of design.
100%.
You know, so it just was not reflective of what I had to offer. So that was really the impetus of it. And I just needed something that was going to attract make people take notice, the right kinds of people take notice.
And how you feel about your own business matters.
It is so important.
Yeah, it's so important. Like if you don't like the way that you feel when you see things that represent your own business,
You're not going to do the things you need to grow it.
And even if you convince yourself like this doesn't matter to me, right? Like I am not a logo guy. I am not a very savvy brand guy. I have absolutely consulted other people to make those decisions for me, and I'm not the critiquer. I'm probably your ideal client, right? Where I'm like, take full creative control. Here's who we are. Here's what we do. Here's what we stand for, and give me some options, and I'll see what speaks to me and what doesn't. Like that. That's probably a really good customer journey for you. And a lot of people want to play a huge creative role in the development of their brand.
Yeah.
Not me. I know what I'm good at.
Yeah.
It's not that, and it probably never will because I really don't have the interest, right? Yeah. I have always adopted that. Your brand comes down to, like, not comes down to, but at a base level, your brand can be most directly affected by how you interact with people face to face.
Yeah, well, because your brand is not your logo.
100%. The visual aspect and the graphic design is not.
It's one part of your brand.
It's the emotion.
It's one part of your brand.
Yeah.
Like an actual brand design is not your visual identity. Your visual identity are things like the logos, the alternate logos, your icons, your brand patterns, your colors, your typography, and how all of that gets executed through the different platforms and your mediums that you're using.
Oh, yeah.
But that's one half, not even one half, it's probably 1/3 of your brand. You have the experience. How do people feel? How do you make them feel when you interact with them? What's their experience through the buying process? Like, what do they feel when they walk into your brick and mortar store? What do they smell? What do they see? What do they hear? Like, there are so many pieces to a brand beyond just the visual identity.
For sure. For sure. Do you find that the market dictates a lot of those things as well? Like we were talking a little bit before the podcast. Do you feel that, people in Atlanta, retail spaces in Atlanta with, millions of foot traffic in front of their store a year approach that differently than, someone in North Carolina and in Wilmington, North Carolina that has a retail space and customer experience is probably higher on their list natively than.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is industry. Part of it is just the DNA of the business itself. Like, what is important to that business and how they want to come across to their potential clients. And some of it's groupthink. They see other businesses doing XYZ, so they feel like they need to be doing something very similar.
Like keeping up with the Joneses.
Even
huge impulse factor.
Yeah, even though that maybe is not the right call for them and the types of clients and customers that they're trying to work with. But it's why you see a lot of designs that look very similar. All the neutrals and earth tones that you see with the very minimalistic. And there's a time and place for minimalistic, but that's not for every brand.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
Yeah, I always get a good laugh of going out. We go to like Sprouts a lot. and all of their branding is like
Yeah.
so similar. Anything that they carry that's other companies, products, anything like that, all the like everything in the store is the same color.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that always gets a kick out of it. What would you say if you had to give people a couple of pieces of advice, right, to entrepreneurs that are listening right now about how to audit their own brand? You know, just to have an understanding of how they feel about their own brand. What pieces of advice would you give them?
Yeah, I would say take a look at first, are you showing up in marketing? Because if the first thing you think of when you have to market yourself, whether it's on social media or email marketing or trying to send people to your website is, ugh, that's a big red flag for
Yeah.
you, right? We just talked about that. The second is if you are getting a lot of leads and very low conversion rate, you need to step back and ask why that's happening. And it may not necessarily be the tactics that you're using in marketing, it's that you're getting in front of the wrong people or you're presenting yourself in a certain way that does not align with what they're seeing the further
Sure.
they get down into the funnel.
Oh yeah. No,
Right.
that's definitely true.
So I would say that's probably the next thing that you really need to think about. And then the third thing is just do some soul searching. Like
Yeah.
how do you want to present your brand and getting super solid on who it is that you're trying to attract.
Oh yeah.
What are their not just demographics, but like where do they hang out? What kind of content are they consuming?
Mm-hmm.
Who do they go to when they need advice? Like what keeps them up at night? What makes them have buyer's remorse? Like what are those pain points and points of frustration and points of joy for them? And how can you solve those things for them? And how does that come across through how your brand is presented?
Yeah. One of the best pieces of advice that goes right along with exactly what you just said is going back to that why, right?
Yeah.
I've always heard over and over again from a good friend of mine that's in the marketing world. He works for a corporation, but he constantly asks, what problem do you solve for your customer?
Yeah.
What problem do you solve for your customer? What is that moment? What is that moment
Yeah.
for your customer? Right? Not what do you do?
Right.
You know, not I'm a chiropractor.
That's right.
What do you I want to hear I help people with back pain, not I am a adjuster of the spine,
Yeah.
right? And so having the ability to answer that question, and I've heard him ask it to people the same way, like you said, and why, 4, 5, 6 times in a row before he gets the actual answer.
Yeah.
I've heard him say, but what problem do you solve?
Yeah.
Not what do you do, what problem do you
Yeah.
solve? You know, why?
Yeah.
And I think that asking yourself that over and over again, different parts of the day, different emotional states, after a big win or a big upset in your business, I think a good way to ask is, you know, what problem are we solving for our customers?
Yeah.
You keep coming back to that same thing and reminding yourself of the value that you bring to the people that are okay with paying you money.
Yep.
Because there is value there.
That's right.
And if there's not, soul searching, brand awareness, come back to why you do what you do and how you want to interact with your customers, because it is the root
Yeah.
of everything in small business. It's definitely the root of everything from a marketing perspective.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And finding people that help you articulate and share in those feelings or messages is always super important. So I think your team is a huge part of your brand as well. I'm sure that you agree with that. But
Yeah.
the people that make up your organization are as much of a reflection, if not more, of what your brand is and the importance of it than anything else. So no, I think we've given some people some a good barometer of how to judge their own brand and their own understanding of their brand and their business right now. If they want to find you, if they have more questions, if they want to buy something, how do they find you?
Yeah, so I have my website, kibberandco.com. It's KIBBER and co.com. I'm also on Instagram. I'm also on Pinterest. And one of my big goals for the next year is TikTok. So we'll see how that pans out. But
Sure. It's a feat. It's a task
yeah,
that I am sure that you will based on your expertise, you will agonize over.
Yeah. Well, I already have. I mean, I think that's part of why I haven't done it yet. Is like I just keep thinking like, well, what's the plan? What's the strategy going
Why?
to be? Yeah. Why?
Why are we
am
on
I doing
TikTok?
this? Like what?
Yeah.
But where I've landed is just document your journey. People just want to know like, how do you do the things you do?
Yeah, because people want to
Document.
love
All
you.
it is documenting.
People want to love you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, whatever the name of your company is, or whatever the service you provide, if people know and like and trust you, and you can put some of that out there in the world, it's going to be positive for you.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming.
Yeah,
I have
thank
one more
you.
question for you. It's kind of the way that we end every podcast around here.
Mm-hmm.
But you're in your industry for a long time, and you've recently stepped into this entrepreneurship journey. I say recently, I guess in relation to other entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
But what has it been like? You know, well, what is the emotional impact for you for stepping into that entrepreneur role and making it your own thing? And why should the people that are, you know, kicking the can down the road or in that preparation hurricane or whatever
Yeah.
that may be, why should they seek out that same type of gratification?
Yeah, so I think it's an emotional roller coaster, to be honest. Like, you're going to have really great days, and then you're going to have days where you're like, this is horrible. I'm horrible. What am I doing this for? How am I going to pay my bills? Like, there are both, and you can only appreciate one because of the other,
No
right?
doubt.
And I kind of do a gut check every once in a while. It's like, am I still happy? Does this still bring me joy? Do I still see a path forward for myself? And am I better off than when I was working for somebody else?
Yeah, correct.
Emotionally, financially, just the whole thing. And the answer so far has been yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I continue doing. The only regret that I have is that I didn't do it sooner.
Sure.
I wish I had done it earlier in my career, like 10 years ago,
Yeah.
15 years ago.
You'd be at a
I would be so much farther along.
yeah.
I would have failed faster, adjusted more quickly, been much farther along than
Yeah.
I am now. But I was so focused on you don't have the most innovative idea. Like,
Yeah.
what's the thing that nobody can replicate, imitate? You don't need that. You
Yeah.
need just a solid offering and to be able to do it well and to speak well about what it is you do and connect with people.
Sure. I mean, there's
That's-
only a handful of those ideas anyway.
Yeah.
Like, think, what are the greatest inventions of all time? Cheese. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
But-
there's a handful.
You go through business school and you get an MBA and you
you
take
learn
these
those things.
entrepreneurship classes, and that's what they teach you
Yeah.
is the most successful businesses are the ones that cannot be repeated.
Yeah.
Well, not really.
Yeah,
Like-
100%.
Like, yes, that can certainly be, you know,
Yeah, you can be an
successful,
inventor.
but yes, and like that's kind of the thing.
Exactly.
So I wish that I hadn't been so afraid
Mm-hmm.
to take that leap and had done it sooner.
Well, one of the most, the truthfully, one of the most exciting things I feel like I get to say on the podcast is that for people like yourself, for people that are listening, my organization prides ourselves on being a connector of people and of value to people that are going through that journey, right? We provide a very specific service in the business world. It's like, you know, it's just a small part of your business.
Yeah.
But we do a really good job of asking those questions, asking the why questions, asking you really trying to understand what lives behind your business and trying to connect people with other people that we think can help flesh out a really good solution, right? I'm sure that is the same for you, right? So if there's anything that you need from us, anything your clients need from us, have questions, or just we can give some perspective
Yeah.
on, and vice versa, I look forward to bringing that value to you and the people you're connected with, and the other way around. You know, people in our network ask us questions and we answer them, and we're not qualified to, and we'll probably keep doing that, you know. And but we have absolutely no fear of saying, this person will forget more than I'll ever know about this one thing. You know, I know payment processing pretty well. I'm not your brand guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I look forward to making some of those connections for you as well, and,
Oh,
and just
thanks.
helping you open the door to be valuable to some of our people. I know it's an exciting thing, and
Thank you.
I look forward
Vice
to
versa.
I look forward to watching the chronicle of your journey continue to unfold.
Thank
you know,
you.
it's going to be a cool thing. So
I hope so.
cool. Well, if you have anything else, any last pieces of advice or words to leave the audience with, the platform and the floor is most certainly yours. But that's all I have.
I'm good. I'm good with that. I'm happy with ending it that way.
Cool. All right. Burn the ship.